Well, today we're going to actually frame up the wing. We already placed the trailing edge and the leading edge into the cradle, into the jig. The leading edge, really all we did is we had these little V blocks that we built for the leading edge to go in, and you know the balsa sticks they tend to warp. So in order to keep them in place so they don't warp, I actually tug glue them, just little dots of say balsa, and just kind of tug glue them to the blocks, and it's actually being held in place, and just enough so it doesn't pop out or it doesn't twist on us. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna lay in the ribs. When you glue them in, you really just want just a little drop of glue, just kind of set them in place. And once they're set in place and everything looks right and straight, you can actually go and apply glue to all the joints. The reason you want to start with just tug gluing the ribs is in case you make a mistake. You always can pop them out and readjust them. If you glue the whole thing in, you don't have that option. So the ribs are all done. We had to actually glue plywood uh, reinforcements on ribs that's going to have the landing gear block. The plans call for 32nd balsa, but I decided to use 64th, uh, for the weight, but also 64th is a very versatile and very strong material if you know how to use it. There's really just two rules with it. Always, it does have a grain, unlike other plywoods where you can get away with not having the grain perpendicular to the loads. Here, you actually, oh, sorry, parallel to the loads. Here, with the 64th, you have to. So since the pressure is going to be on landing, when the plane lands, the force is going to go up. That's why the grain on the balsa, on the 64th plywood, is going this way. That's rule number one. Rule number two: when you sand, don't sand upwards to lift the grain. Sand downwards to push it down, because the sheets from which the plywood is made are very thin. They can easily delaminate. So if you're careful, you can actually, 64th plywood is very, very easy to use. So we have the three ribs. One other reason why I went with 64th instead of 32nd is because this model has three reinforced ribs, where typically the landing gear block goes between two ribs. Here we have three, so there should be plenty of strength in to with 64th plywood. So what we do is make sure we get the correct ribs. Now the nice thing about the kits is that they actually put numbers on the ribs, so you know that when you're putting them in, you're not going to make a mistake and put them out of order. The way I lay the ribs out, usually on the jig, I draw the lines where the ribs should go on the jig. They're long, front to back, and what happens is that when I put the rib in, I can actually eyeball it, the position of the rib, just by looking down on it. So, for example, here I just laid out a rib just by looking down. Always have to verify that it's still at a right angle, and look at it. It's perfectly aligned, and all I had to do is just look down that line. So, um, you know, human eye is an amazing instrument. It allows you to see geometry that you don't have to really. You can use it to your advantage. And there's a YouTube video called "Humans Are Great," and it shows all sorts of amazing things that we as humans can do. One of them is be able to line up a rib that's perfectly perpendicular. It's one of those. So all we do is just a little drop here and here, uh, and just kind of let it set. Um, Now you have to be careful. We just do little tiny drops, so uh, you know, try not to hit them too much. They'll pop very easily. So what we want to do is we're going to lay all the ribs in. Once they all look good, we're actually going to put the top spar in there, tuck glue that in. Once that's all looking good, we're going to actually apply glue to all the joints. So both sides, top and bottom, and the trailing edge, leading edge, and the top spar. We're also going to install the bottom spar, but what I like to do is actually build the top portion of the wing. So the trailing edge, the spar. I also like to put usually there's a 1-inch sheeting that goes in the back. I like to put that in, just kind of give the wing as much rigidity as possible before I pop it out of the jig. I've tried installing the spar from underneath. It can be done. It's just too much hassle. It's a lot easier just to do your work on one side as much as you can, and then when you flip it over, the only thing you really have remaining to attach is the spar. So by then the wing is pretty much set and it will not warp when you flip it over. So we flip it over, we put it back in the jig, and we're going to glue in the spar. Since there is a difference in spacing on the left side of the wing versus the right side, to accommodate the unequal panels in the model, what may happen is that the blocks may interfere with where the ribs are. And from the previous videos, if you remember, we didn't glue these completely. We just kind of tuck glue them in place so they easily can be popped and repositioned. So we're going to do that. So next time I'll show you what we did. We're going to have the wing on one side completely framed up, and we're going to be flipping it over.